All right. Hello and welcome to the Access Program's June Community Chat. My name is Tracy Lewis and I'm the director of the Access Collaborative Program, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Before we get started, I would like to briefly share with you a little bit about the Access Program at OSU, Ohio State University, and the purpose behind our monthly community chats. The Access Program is an academic and social support program to assist parenting students who are pursuing a college education at the Ohio State University. We offer a variety of services to the parenting students in our program, such as programming on parenting and life skills, childcare, housing, aid, and scholarship opportunities. Since 2005, our program has organized and offered the National Student Parent Support Symposium with the purpose of bringing together students, community, and higher education professionals to discuss best practices when supporting post-secondary parenting students and their families. In May, we successfully hosted a virtual version of the symposium. So in an effort to continue the conversation that began at the virtual Student Parent Support Symposium last month, we decided to host monthly Zoom meetings focused on topics and discussions relevant to parenting student support and success. It is our hope that these monthly, community chats will evoke impactful and thought-provoking discussion and conversation. And with that being said, I would like to introduce to you our facilitator for today's session. Today we have with us Ms. Venice Davis. Venice is an impact investigator with Imaginable Futures. Venice, welcome to the session. I will now turn the session over to you to further discuss today's agenda in more detail.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to pull up a slide. Can everyone see my slide okay? Excellent. So greetings, my name is Venice Davis. I am a venture partner with Imaginable Futures, a venture of the Omidyar Group. Imaginable Futures is a global education philanthropic investment fund where we believe that learning has the power to unlock human potential. We take a systems change approach to solving the most complex problems in education and work across public, private, and social sectors to bring forth innovative and transformational ideas to improve learning outcomes of all learners, of all ages, from birth through adulthood. In the US, we have a two-generational approach where we seek to improve family well-being across little learners by increasing the supply and the quality of early childhood education, and adult learners, more specifically, improving the post-secondary outcomes of those who are raising children. For our work centered on student parents, we have three key goals. The first is around improving and increasing re-enrollment and completion. The second, improving economic mobility. And the third, improving overall well-being for student parents. We know that in order to achieve those goals, we must raise awareness about the student parent population. So one of the ways in which we're doing that is by funding important storytelling initiatives, such as this documentary, Raising Dreams, and most recently launching the RISE Prize. Another way in which we do our work is helping to change the mindsets and behaviors in higher education and in public policy. And an example of that is through our partnership with Ascend at the Aspen Institute. And last but not least, we also look at increasing solutions that remove the barriers to post-secondary success for student parents. And such examples include our recent grantee of Generation Hope and investment with a solution called Equity. Today, I am thrilled to premiere our short documentary, Raising Dreams, based on the full feature film, Unlikely. Raising Dreams focuses on the two student parents that are featured in Unlikely and shines a light on their unique barriers as well as their strengths as student parents navigating their post-secondary dreams while parenting. The film is approximately 14 minutes. After the viewing, I will moderate a panel and then open it up for questions from the audience. I am joined today by three amazing panelists. The first is the filmmaker, Jay Fenderson. Jay is an award-winning director and producer with credits spanning feature-length documentaries, commercial and branded content, and acclaimed shows for ABC, NBC, FX, Lifetime, and MTV. A former admissions officer at Columbia University and passionate advocate for college access and success, Jay is also the author of 17's Guide to Getting into College and a former college advice columnist for 17.com. Her writing has also appeared in 17, Good Housekeeping, and the College Access and Opportunity Guide. The second panelist we have is David Kroom. David is the Assistant Director for Post-Secondary Achievement and Innovation at Ascend at the Aspen Institute, where he leads the Aspen Post-Secondary Success for Parents Initiative. David comes to Ascend with expertise and interests around racial equity, student finance, federal policy, and a desire to elevate student voice and improve practice and policymaking. And last, but certainly not least, we have Tanya Gutierrez, who's one of the women featured in the film. Tanya currently resides in Simi Valley, California with her husband, Peter, and kids, Audrey and Andrew.
Venice, you're muted. Can you unmute your mic, please?
Not sure what happened there. So Tanya currently resides in Simi Valley, California with her husband, Peter, and kids, Audrey and Andrew. After a couple of decades in hiatus from higher education, she received her bachelor's degree from Arizona State University in 2017, all thanks to financial support from her employer, Starbucks, and moral support from her amazing family. While there is lots more to share about Tanya's success, I won't spoil the film, and I will let Tanya share more about what she's up to now during the panel and the Q&A. A couple of quick logistic notes. I will begin sharing the film shortly. If for some reason we have any technical difficulties, I may have to share the link in the chat and for folks to watch on their own and then come back to the panel, but we don't anticipate any of those challenges. I will ask that everyone please mute themselves, and it may be really helpful on your end if you also turn off the video, your video, so you're able to maximize the viewing of the actual documentary. And now I will begin sharing the film.
I get out of school at about 12, so I stay and study until 2:20, and then go get the kids. The girls are Brooklyn, London, and Milan. Brooklyn is the oldest, she's 8, and London and Milan are 5. When you're ready, say aye, aye.
Aye, aye.
Being a single mother and going back to school is pretty tough. You know, I'm taking 15 credit hours, so it's a lot of work at school. It's a lot of work at home. And I have to really manage my time very well.
I know what college my mom goes to. The University of Akron.
I'm motivated by my family. I just know if I do this, then I'm benefiting my kids. I'm gonna benefit our lives in the future. That really helps a lot.
We have to ensure that parents really look at higher education as a means to improve their family and really focus on creating a culture in our communities throughout the country that really gives parents the idea and the belief that college is for them and they can actually go to college and finish college.
I'm a store manager for Starbucks. I've been with the company just over 9 years. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, guys. I'm basically in charge of all the operations of my store, the staffing, the sales, the overall performance, customer service. And the more I've been there, the more I've become passionate about what I do, because it allows me to have that balance of having this career while at the same time being a mom and at the same time being a student.
What is it? There's this Star Wars thing on Saturday that Daddy could take us.
Oh my God, Daddy would love that.
It's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
3 p.m. I work till about 2:30.
A lot of my friends are going to be there. Can you bring some frappuccinos or something over? The first thing that I started thinking about were my kids, because this was a serious commitment for the whole family. This wasn't just me going to school. This time around, it's my husband, it's my kids. How was your day? Good.
My motivation was basically, I want my wife to get this degree because it's been something that she's been pursuing for such a long time and been putting off for so long.
Wasn't sure what I wanted to do or what degree I wanted to get, but I started actually, for the first time in my life, I was excited. I was excited about the prospect of school.
I was trying to get the management position at Wendy's, and it fell through. So I quit my job to go back to school.
Are you guys ready to talk about it as a class? Many of our attitudes and behaviors are ultimately shaped by whether blank is blank or blank.
D.
D? Yep, self-concepts, positive or negative.
First semester, I got a 4.0. I was on the president's list, and it was awesome. Since that was my first semester, I was really proud of myself. I was like, I knew I could do it.
I'm from Iran. I was born in Iran, and when I was 7 and we moved to America, my parents just thought everyone in America can go to college and get a good job. One morning, unfortunately, my dad suffered a massive stroke. My focus became to help the family. I had to go to work full time. I couldn't pay for college. And so I forgot all about the dream of getting a bachelor's degree.
Terrible. Terrible. I was broken heart. And she knows how much it was important for me. She finished her school.
Good morning, Mama.
Good morning, Mama.
Welcome.
There are a lot of hardship stories that I heard as to the dreams and aspirations that people had at 17, 18 years old when they started school. And then for one reason or another, life happened and they had to stop going to school. And so this has reignited the opportunity and the aspiration and dreams that people had at 17 and 18 years old that they thought was completely fractured and over.
And then I had to talk to my mom because it meant her offering more support. And she said, I'll take care of the kids. I'll pick them up. I'll take care of them in the morning and drop them off.
She was thinking maybe I cannot help her. I told her, I will. I will. Doesn't matter how hard it's going to be.
She left our country so that we could have an education. A big part of what I'm doing is for her. I want her to know that she did the right thing.
I'm paying for school now with student loans. I applied for FAFSA, so I'm getting the Pell Grant and stuff like that.
My toes pin are fresh.
I have no choice but to pay for it with loans because can't afford childcare and go back to school.
You're stuck? You're stuck in the bathroom?
She was stuck in your room. Because the door right here was locked.
So why didn't you come around?
Why didn't you come that way?
Wow. Wow, Audrey. This is why mommy can't always get her studying done on time. How can I do my schoolwork?
Okay, bye.
If you're doing Snapchat.
It is.
Okay, I'm gonna just need a little time to study for my final, okay? You wonder as a mom, as a parent, am I neglecting my children? Do I want to pursue something so badly that I'm going to hurt them in the process?
She is always doing her homework almost every day. Except weekends, because no one has school on weekends.
It's impossible to be good at everything, so I'm just trying to be a really good mother. I'm really trying on my schoolwork, but it's just really hard, trying to do a whole bunch of stuff outside. You only have so much time, and you don't want to wear yourself into the ground.
There are times when they all go out without me. I have to stay behind. It might be a Sunday, beautiful day out, and everyone goes out, and in the back of my mind I'm thinking, they just left again without me. And are my kids missing the opportunities of spending Sunday with me?
My professors, a lot of times they don't know that I'm 29 and that I have a family. They think that I'm, 18, 19. But when somebody sees you like that, they don't understand all the different things that you have to deal with. Are y'all ready to eat?
Yeah.
I'm trying not to sacrifice on my children because at this point, they need me more. And I need them, so we need to be a unit. And school is going to be there, and I'm doing the best that I can, and that's all I could do. This semester I'm not going to enroll, and I'll probably be back in spring. I realized that I just had to, take that break to be able to make sure that my family was going to be okay.
Many students, they don't have support to help them work through the many challenges that are going to confront them. Life happens to every one of our students. We haven't taken the time to readjust our system to the needs of today. We, as educators, really need to create low to no cost pipelines that allows them the flexibility to get through there as quickly as possible with as little debt as possible.
I'm about halfway through my last semester. It was tough, it was difficult, but everyone was so happy that I'm almost done. Working for a company where not only do they understand work-life balance, but because they have this partnership with the university that I'm going to, they are encouraging me. They want me to be successful. And the great thing is that I can do this on my terms. I can do it on my time, my pace, and then I have all of this support behind me to get it done.
Okay, you want to do a race? On your mark? They motivate me to do everything. I have to finish school. I have to go to school so I can make a better life for my children and show them the example that, you know, it doesn't matter what time you do something in their life, that you can finish it and be successful.
From my earliest of memories, my mother instilled in me her belief in the American dream, that a good education and hard work will open the doors to a better life. And that your station in life does not define you and the promise of America that is for all of us. Go forward and continue to make your parents and your family proud. God bless you, and thank you, and congratulations.
And we'll rise up, like the waves will rise up. In spite of the ache, we'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again.
We don't get to decide how our students come or don't come. We have to meet them where they're at. And I guarantee you that if you give a student the opportunity, they will rise to it.
Thank you all for taking this time to watch this film with us. We'll jump into the panel and then we'll do some Q&A. Tanya, this is such an amazing story, and I cannot tell you, I've watched this film more than 20 times, and every time I cry. Your mother is the one that gets me at the end. I would love to hear what you're up to, what's happened since you graduated from ASU. Tanya, I think you're on mute.
Hi, everyone. So at graduation, Howard Schultz, who was the CEO at the time for Starbucks, said dream big and then dream bigger. And for me, just the bachelor's degree was already a huge dream. And once I got through that, I decided I wanted to keep going because my dream had always been to teach. And so I started a teaching program, a credentials program through Cal State LA. It's an online program. I just finished. I'm in the process of being recommended for teaching credentials as we speak. And I officially start my teaching job tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So, I left Starbucks in January just to finish up this last semester of credentials work. And I've been hired to start teaching at a charter school for an underserved community in San Fernando, California.
That's absolutely wonderful. Congratulations. I don't know if you can see all the congrats coming in, but everyone's wishing.
Thanks, everyone. I can. I have my chat open, so thank you so much.
Would love to hear a little bit more from you, Tanya, about your experience parenting while going to school. Can you share from your experience, what were some of the biggest challenges? What were some of the biggest barriers that you had to face?
Sure. I'm going to have to say that I was actually very lucky. My situation is an anomaly when it comes to being a parent-student. I had the support of my mom, who was there to help the kids, and then a husband who was very, very supportive and letting me have my time and space when I needed it to study. So in that regard, I was really, really very lucky, and that's not the norm for most parent students. But it was still a challenge to wonder, they were really, really young. This was in 2017 when I graduated. And I was just wondering if I was sacrificing valuable time that I could be spending with them just so that I could pursue this dream of teaching. There were a lot of really late nights studying just so that I could spend the entire afternoon with them until they go to bed, and then staying up to study and then getting up super early to be at a 5 a.m. shift at Starbucks. So I think just balancing what I provided the kids. Luckily, they had a lot of other family members in our lives that were able to provide them with love, and I didn't have to worry about childcare, but still it was important for me to be there in their lives, and I missed a lot of time with them, weekends, Sundays, and things like that.
Yeah, it's always a tough balance for parents while they're going to school, but you did have an amazing supportive family, so we can see that definitely helped. One of the things we know is that investing in student-parent post-secondary success is not only critical for the parent, but also their children. Parents who complete their degree double their income, as we saw in the documentary, and $1,000 increase in a family household income has resulted in up to 27% increase in a child's cognitive development. Tanya, would love to hear from you about how have your children been impacted, seeing you go through this journey that was not necessarily very easy? How has it been for them through their journey and now? What have you seen from them?
Well, through the journey, they used to tell me all the time, "Mommy, why didn't you get your degree when you were supposed to?" Because to them, this is not the time to go to college. They kind of view college as something you do when you're done with high school. But at the same time, now having gone through this, they know that this is not a possibility. This is what they are already planning for. My best friend and my sister are on here, and they know, they're actually viewing with us. My kids talk about what college they want to go to. They're already looking to see. They both say they want to be doctors. They're still young. They're 12 and 13, so they can still change their minds. But they're already talking about one of the most important things you can have for your kids. For me, we never talked about that in my house. It was never a conversation. What college do you want to go to? What do you want to study? Not because my parents didn't want that for me, but as immigrants, it was just a different kind of environment.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing, Tanya. David, would love to hear from you more about some of the systematic barriers that student parents face given your work at Ascend at the Aspen Institute.
Yes, and I just wanted to say that the mutual motivation piece is real. Something I forget to add to my bio is that I'm a son of a student parent. My mom went to community college and got her bachelor's when I was in elementary and middle school. So this is something that I have a personal and professional kind of connection to. So it's very much real that you can see these benefits with your children. So I always want to make sure to mention that at the beginning. I think in this work, what's so clear is that parents in college are already pretty much academically motivated. I mean, you heard that she was on the Dean's List and had a 4.0. It's not a question around their ability to do this work. It really is a question around their capacity, right? So how can you ensure that student parents have the capacity to focus on the academics? Because if they have that capacity, they're going to excel and they're going to get their degree and credential and they're going to do great. But in order to get that capacity, it's all about this kind of cost beyond tuition. It's about childcare. It's about housing, transportation, food and housing insecurity, conversations that we're having now in the higher education sphere, which is great. But it's even more, I guess, even more of an issue considering all of the various kind of constraints that student parents have, considering that they have to, in the cases of mothers, do probably most of the child rearing within their households. They're working full time, and kind of have all these other elements too. So I think some of the things those are some of those elements that need to be considered. Venice mentioned Generation Hope earlier. They recently came out with a survey from that actually Imaginable Futures funded, this National Student Parent Survey. And what it showed, which I think is really interesting, and honestly the case from talking to student parents, is that there's a lot of stigma associated with being a parent. And again, it was mentioned in the video a little bit in that, professors, faculty assuming that that she was a 19, 20-year-old student, but she's 29 years old with kids. And so, from that survey, it showed that a significant population of student parents don't tell faculty that they are parents, that they feel disconnected from their community, and that the campuses that they go to, if they go to in-person courses, typically are not family friendly. They don't allow children within classrooms. They don't have access to high quality childcare. They don't have access to flexible course scheduling. And I think that's again, very real. If you look at the research, and this is a GAO report from last year, 25% of student parents are enrolled in fully online coursework versus about 3% of non-parents. So there's so many elements within this work, but I just want to touch on a few of those.
That's fantastic. Having flexible options and also options that are cost effective at low or no cost, which Eloy alluded to during the film, I think is really key. We know that ASU and the University of Akron clearly have programs that are designed for student parent success. Are there other places that you have seen or experienced, David, that have successfully supported the post-secondary success of student parents?
Yeah, very much so. And I think as it kind of gets to a lot of the best programs in this work really are the ones that provide access to, again, this cost beyond tuition to in additional capacity, provide access to childcare, high quality childcare availability, maybe flexible course options, maybe even just drop in. It really is just a whole bunch of supports that student parents need. So one, I want to call out, of course, OSU Access and the great work that they're doing. In particular, I heard recently that they're offering mental health supports for not just the parents, but the children as well. And I think that's amazing and kind of really highlights the two-gen approach that we're talking about in this work. One that's always talked about, at least in this space, and rightfully so, is Los Angeles Valley College and the Family Resource Center there. And I know Marnie and Amber Angel are on the Zoom call, but they get a lot of attention for the right reasons because they provide access to such great supports for student parents who are enrolled. And the supports can be as small as major, I guess, in certain ways, as providing access to diapers and all these kind of resources through the Good Plus Foundation, for example. So they have really connected a whole bunch of different high quality supports and also actual items to parents who need them desperately. One other is also Albina Head Start and Portland Community College, because I think that I want to mention that there are programs that exist within a college context, but there are also ways to connect like large programs like Head Start to a post-secondary institution where they are prioritizing student parents who are enrolled at Portland Community College and giving them access to high quality childcare as well. So there's so many different models within this field that you can really tap into for this work.
Yeah, and you've highlighted the importance of childcare, and there was a study from Monroe Community College that shows access to childcare increases completion by 3 times for student parents. So childcare, whether it's full-time or a drop-in, is unbelievably critical. Now we'll switch and talk to Jay. Would love to hear from you why you decided to create this film. What was it that made you decide to do Unlikely and then also Raising Dreams?
Sure. Well, similar to David's story, this is very personal to me. My mom actually started at LA Valley College before I was born. And when she was about to have me, she stopped out. And it wasn't until I was about to start high school that she decided to go back to college and earn her degree. And she was a single mother. So my sister and I used to go to campus with her, and I remember looking around and I was watching my sister, who's 6 years younger than me, and we didn't see any other kids on campus. And we thought, although we were excited, we had a lot of the same questions that Tanya's kids had. Why didn't you go, finish your degree when you were supposed to, like right after high school? And so it was very isolating. And I think the challenges that we faced as being children of a single mother who was going to college certainly shaped my path. I did end up going to college and getting my degree, and seeing the opportunities that it opened up for me, it has really informed my storytelling. And so as a documentary filmmaker, it's really important because the process is so long. It's not, making huge Hollywood films with fancy red carpet premieres all the time. It's really about telling narratives that are impactful and can change lives. And so this is education, and access to education is something that I'm so passionate about. And I think storytelling is a way to allow people to experience empathy for experiences that they may not have had themselves, to highlight problems and injustices that are in our society, and to talk about how we can create change and how we can better our systems so that we deliver on the promise that America has stood for so long. And so, at our company that I run with my husband, Adam, we focus on the stories of marginalized voices, the ones that you don't often see in the media. And I think student parents are long overdue for having stories told about them and being celebrated for not just the challenges that they face, but really the championing, the resilience and, just the fortitude and inspirational stories. And I love that statistic about the GPAs, because I remember my mom going to school and she was just killing it when she was in college and doing so well. And I think, I even know when I went to college right off the bat, I wasn't doing as well as my mom was when she was in college. So I think that we need to celebrate those stories. And the way to do that is through making sure that they're heard.
That's fantastic. Yes, I love the fact that student parents have higher GPAs than non-parenting students, even though they experience what is called shredded time, where they have to multitask because they have responsibilities across raising children, managing a household, working full-time or part-time, and then going to school and studying. So despite that, having higher GPAs is actually incredible. And it's important to show and share their stories because there's so many strengths that they have, being courageous and just really, really focus on completing not just for themselves, but also for their children. Have you had success with using a film as an advocacy tool before, Jay?
Yes, absolutely. The first film that Adam and I did was called First Generation. We followed 4 students who were first in their families to go to college. And yeah, that's actually how we met David way back in the day. So we started filming that in 2007. And I remember when we were taking it around, when we started filming and screening it, a lot of people thought the film was about first generation Americans. And they didn't realize the idea that there is a huge population of students in our country who are first in their families to go to college. And we were sitting in an audience in Arizona one time, and it was incredible to watch the hands of students raise up when we asked, how many of you are going to be first in your family to go to college? And it was a majority of the audience. And I remember having one-on-one conversations with students who said, I thought I was the only one. I didn't realize that there was this whole community out there just like me, experiencing these struggles. And I think this is the power of film, right? If we share our stories, if we feel, empowered to do that, we realize that we are not alone, and we can be encouraging and help one another through that journey, because we're all in this journey together. And I think that that's one of the most rewarding things about making a film is the community that creates, that is created afterwards. So it has a life of its own. And with documentary, we continue to show First Generation, we're continuing to show Unlikely, and we're continuing to see connections between students who are looking for the support systems that they need, but also not feeling isolated in their own journey, and then empowered to share their story. So the storytelling continues. And I think that's our vision and our hope that we see, is that, it doesn't end here with Raising Dreams. We want to encourage other student parents and other children of student parents to share their stories, to encourage one another, inspire one another, because as you know, we said, when student parents rise, we all rise.
Absolutely. Tanya, I have one last question for you before we open it up for Q&A from the audience. What advice would you give to student parents? There are some student parents that are on the call today, and some that will watch this recording afterwards. What advice would you give to them?
I think the most important thing is to remember that not everyone has to be the same type of student. For me, an online platform worked. I got my bachelor's degree through ASU online. I also got my credentials completely online, with the exception of obviously having to go in for student teaching hours. But online may not work for someone, and they may need to go into a classroom, or the classroom may not work and they can find that type of resource. Also, I would suggest building a community. Jay kind of referenced that a little bit and said after each screening, a sort of community becomes built, but finding support with other people who are going through the same situation, finding support with people that can relate to you is really, really important. And that was an important thing with both ASU and Cal State LA, Cal State Teach, was that there was always a cohort of other students that I could always connect with and find support through.
That's great. Jillian, I'll pass it over to you.
There you go. Hi, everybody. So I guess I'm supposed to do a quick introduction. My name is Jillian Deist. I operate as the GAA for Access Collaborative, and I have been communicating with you all about all of these events. So I want to go ahead and pick up some questions that are coming through our chat here for the panelists. One question that is coming in is, what advice would you give institutional leaders on how they can better support student parents? So this question sounds like it might be geared towards David.
Sure. There are so many points, things that can be done. So I'll try to give a succinct answer as possible. I think the first thing we need in this work is data. So you would be surprised, and I'll reference a few points on this. So Achieving the Dream did a survey of I think about 120 of their institutions responded to it. Only about 25% of their institutions, these are community colleges, were actually tracking data around the parenting students they have on their campuses. And less than a handful of them were actually looking at parenting status crossed with momentum statistics like persistence, completion of degrees, et cetera. So if we don't know who we're serving, how can we serve them, right? And we also know that data creates prioritization, right? And I think there's a kind of a piece right now where people feel that maybe they're not capturing the data because they don't want to know the numbers, but I think there are definitely institutions who I've engaged with who definitely want to know this information, and realize that student parents share a similar sense of identity. I mean, they're mostly women of color, they're mostly first generation, and so they have a lot of connections to so many key populations within this space. And so I think that's the first thing I would say is collecting data. Then once you collect the data, I think it's important to look at the data, of course, quantitatively, but also qualitative. Talk to the parents, talk to the student parents. That's some work that we do a lot of with our parent advisors, and actually engaging them and figuring out what are the barriers that they're facing on their campus. It may not be as easy as creating a childcare center on your campus. You might have to think about how to create some voucher system to connect to external childcare, because they might want childcare that's closer to their home versus that's 30 miles away. So I think realizing that, first capturing the data, but then actually figuring out what are the barriers the parents are facing is what I would ask institutional leaders to do ASAP.
Thank you, David. And I got clarification. Tanya, could you add to this question maybe more so what other supports you could have received from your institution that might have made things a little maybe more manageable?
I can speak to what I had this time around versus what was lacking, I guess in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s when I first tried to do this. This time around, I had financial support. This time around, I had a coach at ASU that was in constant contact with me. They would check in at least 4 or 5 times a semester, every few weeks, just checking in with you, wondering if you need any support. So I didn't have to look for someone. I knew that I had a contact person that could talk about work-life solutions, that could talk about financial solutions, that could talk about childcare solutions, that could really point me in the right direction. So that was something that was provided through ASU. And then I also, this time around, had the support of just someone to take care of my kids. The first time around, I didn't even have kids, but I still couldn't do it. I was working full time trying to take care of my family, my parents actually. So this time around, I knew that I could have support with children. And for me, I was lucky in that I had that within my 4 walls and in my own home, help with the kids. But parent students need support. And as we clearly saw with Clarissa, she doesn't have that, and she struggled and is still trying to work towards that degree. So childcare support, advocacy, resources as far as having a point person, a contact person that can point you in the right direction. Those are all very, very helpful.
Thank you. A lot of the questions we're getting are regarding more supports, which we'll come back to that. I want to ask one question while I still have Venice on here, because I know she has to leave shortly. David, you mentioned data and how to collect the data, and that it's important to push the agenda, if you will, for parenting students. I guess, have any of you run into a barrier of like navigating this ethical space of continuing to ask student parents for information about themselves that maybe makes them a more vulnerable population than they already are? This could be for Venice, this could be for Jay or Tanya. I know some of the students in our program sometimes get a little bombarded with research after study after study of seeming like lab rats at some point.
I still get surveys from ASU 3 years after the fact, and I honestly don't mind the surveys. You can always ask. If I'm too busy or I think that the data is irrelevant or private, then I won't share, but I don't think it's crossing the line to ask for that data. Anyone who's in the same situation, anyone who reaches the point where they become a parenting student, they want to see others succeed as well. So I personally don't see that as being a barrier. And I think that we all know when to draw the line as far as that's concerned, and be capable or willing to share what we want to share and not what we don't.
And I'll just add one other point here. I think trust is really important. And so if student parents believe that the institution is collecting this data so that they can offer additional support services, and they have a track record of doing that, then I think that student parents are more likely to then share that information if they know that it's going to be used to provide a benefit for them and their children.
That's a great point. I would completely agree with that.
Jay, what do you think about some of that? Because you mentioned your first film was, focusing on other underrepresented groups. So checking off a lot of those bubbles, sometimes those things get a little invasive, I guess, sometimes. So how do you feel, or how do you navigate that?
Yeah, and I think that's actually something that came up often. So even when we were showing First Generation and also with Unlikely, we learned that many different families and cultures have different ideas about what is okay in terms of data sharing and the information that they want to divulge. And so as a documentary filmmaker, it's about building trust and making sure that the information the person you're filming is sharing is protected. If they say something that they don't want divulged, that you have that mutual trust. But I do think that in order to serve students, we need to understand what those challenges are, what they need. And so there certainly needs that balance. And I think that might start with relationships and building those relationships. And, you know, I think that I have seen success with, like Tanya was sharing, when there is a mentor or a coach involved. It's not just getting a blind survey or, you know, a piece of paper that you have to fill out without that human connection. So although I think the technological advancements that we have are really important, I think we can't miss the fact that people still want to interact with a person and develop a relationship that, you know, they may have over the course of their entire journey through higher education. And so I think that's really important not to ignore.
Thank you.
Can I jump in here? And you may be getting to this, Jillian, but I just wanted to add that there are several organizations that have partnered with online universities such as WGU, ASU, and Southern New Hampshire University that offer an opportunity for students to have in-person coaching and support that then goes alongside their online degree program that allows them the flexibility, allows them to complete courses quickly and get a degree fast and increase their income more quickly. And these organizations such as Peloton U, Rivet School, formerly Concourse Education, Duet, are providing these in-person coaching that's translating to significant increases in persistence and completion. And student parents, working adults are seeing completion rates at like 80 to 90 or more percent because of that, the importance of that in-person coaching, which is really critical.
Thanks, Venice, for adding that. So one question that came in was, is there any advice on how to best offer support and empathy for these students in unique situations? And I guess that might be from ourselves or to the other institutions that we might influence.
I think there's, I think a big part of it is sharing the story, sharing the narrative. I believe that the student parent story is this like untold American story. And the more that we share that 25% of the undergraduate population are parents, the more that we share that a significant portion of those who have some college credit but no degree are parents, the more that we share that data, but then also share stories, whether it's through social media, whether it's through film, people then begin to connect and realize, one, that there are student parents that exist in higher ed, but then also that they may have a personal connection. Like we, just in the introduction, I mean, both David and Jay are products of student parents. And I have seen in the chat, there have been several people that have said that they were a product of a student parent or were a student parent. And Jillian, would love to hear a little bit about your story and share as well, because it's a narrative that is actually really common. And the more that we share the story, the more that allows people to have empathy and realize, oh, I know multiple student parents, or I was a product of a student parent myself.
And I think we need champions for that storytelling. So that's why Venice and Imaginable Futures, we're so grateful to you, because those stories can't be told in isolation. We need people who are in positions of power and influence to bring those stories to the forefront so that we can celebrate them. So we need media partners and to focus on them. We need, all of, the philanthropists to really shine a light on those stories, and for higher ed institutions to celebrate. When we hear, the stories, from higher ed institutions of students who are successful in their programs, we need to make sure that they're intentional about celebrating the diversity of the students that they educate. And I think the more that student parents see themselves in that narrative, the more others will be encouraged to follow that journey or finish it.
Yeah, I just want to co-sign to what Venice and Jay said. I think one other element that I want to just say is that I think by the nature of being a student parent and raising children and working and all that, they have some amazing expertise that we need to be tapping into. And so we're very lucky at Ascend to have a group of parent advisors who have been really helping us be extremely thoughtful, along with Imaginable Futures and others, around how this system can change for them. And I think what we do a lot of, I think just having that cohort-based experience, feeling that sense of belonging, and then also, you know, a lot of just telling them that, like, we truly believe that you have expertise in this space. And it's not just the expertise that I necessarily have, but like, it's your lived experience. And so how can we, you know, distill that in a way that policymakers and system leaders can really understand and shift the knowledge around. So I think that this is something that you know, it's not just about the storytelling, which is important too, but really tapping into their voices. And I think this is just a general thing around how a student voice can be so powerful and really impacting a system. So something I want to mention.
And I agree. I think you guys have started to hit on some of the things that I dig into all the time, which is advocating like for yourself and having student parents advocate, which I won't dig too deep in. We have one of our sessions from the previous symposium. It's recorded and available on our website. Two of my e-board folks, because we have a student org here at OSU for parenting students. And they both speak on the fact of it's one thing for these student parent champions to garner support and to gain that empathy for you, but to then go in and get it yourself. And I remember one of my student parents using the quote, I think it was, if they don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair, which she quoted, I believe, from Shirley Chisholm. That's what student parents do. We make a way somehow, some way. That's kind of our nature, which is one of those talents that, David, you're referencing. I don't like to get on my soapbox. This is your space, not mine. I want to get, Venice, do you have to go ahead and sign off?
In about a couple minutes, yes.
Okay. I want to be mindful of everybody's time. We're going to try to go just a few more minutes to get some of these questions out, because I know these times are always just too short. They never last long enough.